And blessed to be with you, our great friend Dave Petzo joining us. Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. Petzo loves the government. Petzo's not down with the shutdown. He's a big fan of big government, so there's probably no one happier in America today than you that the government has been reopened.
And expanding again.
Yes.
Yes, because unless we close it, it just keeps expanding.
Well, not anymore.
Consuming more and more of your life.
Well,
Isn't that great?
But on the other hand, Dave Petzo, you like to fly. You're an international traveler. You go to such exotic locations as Reno, Nevada, and some other places of that nature that maybe some of us in our lives would be honored to go once or twice. They practically have named a street after you in Reno.
Right.
But the air traffic control system was going down.
Yes, it was. Too many absences. So
Right.
It's good to see up and going, at least for 3 weeks, right?
But doesn't that mean the government does something good? Your beloved way to fly.
It does. Government is good at protection. That's what they're good at, and that's what we need them for.
So your thoughts here on KIDO Talk Radio of the government shutdown and 3 more weeks, the impact it's had on the economy, on people's markets, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, here's what we've had since we've had a government shutdown. We've got a market that's on fire, literally. We are up 6.5% since the beginning of the year with the S&P 500. We are up 10% with small company stocks. Technology is just a little tiny bit behind that. It's amazing. It's an amazing run that we've had as the government shut down, which, again, we should think about this. So now that the government's open, is this great news for the market? Number one, we very easily could close down in 3 weeks, so why would we be too excited about that? But also, let's bear in mind, the government shutting down, was that bad news for the market? No. Is it going to be good news to have the government back open? No. It's business as usual. The world will go on. We don't want to have no government because, obviously, as you pointed out, Kevin, we've got TSA issues, people without pay that are actually doing work. So these things have to be fixed. But as far as the overall markets, the overall economy, it really doesn't have an impact.
Dave Petzo joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But, on the other hand, when you're saying that it does impact the markets, because if people can't fly, they can't hit commerce, you don't have a trade delegation at Davos, you can't meet with the Chinese, eventually that is going to hit your beloved markets, right?
Well, eventually it would if we shut the government for ages and ages and people just didn't show up anymore to work. But slowing down, it did slow down TSA. That wouldn't have been fun to travel. I fortunately haven't been for a while. And but at the same time, we continued, and like I said, the markets are doing fine, and they weren't overly concerned that we would never have a deal. And the answer is we do have a deal. At least for 3 weeks.
Right. So what does that mean for the next 3 weeks?
Probably nothing as far as the markets go. Really. As far as the economy, it's minimal. It's just that the news cycle requires, Kevin, everything to be amazingly bad or, hyperbolic. Everything always is when it comes to news flow. And so we're talking about the impact of the economy is this and that. And they just don't have a story to run with. It would be something like the impact is minimal. Because it is minimal.
Well, but it isn't if you have people that are working for the government.
Oh, I'm not saying individuals aren't. Now, that's not what we're talking about.
You can't have it both ways.
Oh, really?
Now, would you work for free?
No, hold on here. You're going to paint me into the corner of this guy who's just an absolutely insensitive, horrible person that doesn't care about people.
I would never say that about you, Dave Petzo.
That was very good. I was nearly hogtied there.
You're very, very defensive here this morning.
Really, yes.
But so the government shutdown is over. We also have this indictment of Roger Stone. Many people think that, okay, if you follow politics, that's a big story. But it does impact the presidency. Roger Stone, very close to the president. I mean, the country doesn't want to go through an impeachment. The country doesn't want to go through this endless things because it undermines the credibility of the office, which does impact your beloved financial institutions.
Yes. Well, those beloved institutions do not like that kind of turmoil, that's for sure. As long as the liberal media is so liberal and over-the-top liberal.
The libs.
Then I just don't see that this narrative of finding anybody that knows Trump and trying to take him down, I don't see that changing because I've been thinking for a long time that the Democrats have clearly overstepped their bounds of normal behavior, screaming and yelling at the Kavanaugh hearings and all this nonsense that goes on, instead of just working to convince people that you have a better message. It's just an anti-Trump message. But the media is just they're so backed into this. They are absolutely supportive of it, and I just don't see it changing, because if the constant message is in the news is this Russia collusion, or Trump's just a bad guy and we got to take everybody down, I just don't know that we're going to see the outrage that we would see if the Republicans were doing this. And we did see that during Clinton. In the impeachment, we saw the media come to his aid. I just don't see that happening. So I don't know that we're going to change that, Kevin.
Dave Petzo joining us. Some of the top local stories, according to Realtor.com. I'll just say the Treasure Valley, they say Boise will continue to be a hot housing market in the next few years. Any surprise there?
No, not at all. Why wouldn't you want to live here? I can't get my daughter out of Seattle, but when they're here, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful to a degree, but I mean, we do have our challenges when it comes to flights and that sort of thing. If you want to get away from it all, this is perfect. But if you want to be a cosmopolitan kind of guy like you, man of the world,
it's not bad.
You have to go to Reno.
It's not bad. We have everywhere covered south. We have everything covered west. And yes, you can get to Denver or Chicago. That's not too bad for making any connections you need to.
Sometimes Dallas.
And, they do.
They got the big, long-winded Dallas.
Yep.
Maybe
Again, the South is pretty good. It's not bad. Yeah.
And, Salt Lake, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So there's let's just say, for those of us who have been around here a long time, and air travel was expensive and difficult to do out of Boise, this is really looking good.
You follow banking at all, Dave Petzo, at the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial?
Follow it how?
Well, now we have Capital One opening like virtual banks.
Oh, yeah.
Chase now adding a commercial private bank to downtown Boise. What does that really mean?
Oh, it's very interesting what's happening in finance. Of course, with online banking, it's going to change everything. I don't know how long the old model of having, 20 branches in your area is going to continue.
Now, there
last.
You go again. There you go again. Celebrating the elimination of workers. What are you talking about? They're not going to be bankers and stuff like that.
Not celebrating it at all. Just following the trend.
Okay.
Following the
please
trend.
Continue.
Yes, we are all going to be, as they say, you already can. For example, we don't mail checks out of our office. We scan them in. So do people on their own cell phones. They get their paychecks and scan them in. No, I don't either.
Checks.
I don't either.
I send checks out.
Yeah.
My wife laughs at me, but I send out checks. I don't trust the machines.
You don't trust the machine?
Right. I don't trust the machines.
All right. You trust that people won't steal your mail.
That's right. That's right, because we've got the postal inspectors that'll make sure that doesn't happen. Back to the good government here.
There you go. Yeah.
And they're essential.
And they will be there, bam.
That's right.
You make a call, the postmaster's at your house.
That's right. That's right.
With the SWAT team.
Well, that would be for Roger Stone. Okay, let's move on.
Wasn't that something? That was really amazing.
Oh,
I did notice that, Kevin. Sorry, I didn't mean to digress.
No, go ahead.
No, I just thought that was astounding that CNN gets a heads up to this, and why would a guy that doesn't have any background at all have 20-plus SWAT team guys or fully dressed FBI agents? It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. This is a two-tier justice system. It's very sad.
It is. Dave Petzo joining us here at the Petzo Center. You're a Starbucks guy?
No, I'm not, actually. I don't particularly like their coffee.
What do you make of Howard Schultz deciding that he's going to run for president, or thinking about it? Last night on CBS, the libs are upset about it, but your thoughts?
Why would the libs be upset?
The CEO of Starbucks, because he's going to pull away from the eventual liberal presidential candidate.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I think it's interesting that a liberal business person calling himself a centrist, which, of course, compared to what was happening with the Democratic Party these days, anybody that doesn't sound like a raving socialist or communist is somebody who must be leaning to the right. So I think that's a very interesting thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Bloomberg in that same camp. In fact, I would be shocked if he doesn't run. So I think Schultz is coming out early, trying to, if he can, cordon off that position. Because Bloomberg is had clearly been staking it out. Whether he ran or not, I don't know, but he certainly made a lot of noise for a couple of years, and he hates Trump more than anything in the world. So that's pretty evident on his websites.
But really, can an independent? I mean, this guy's going to throw millions of dollars.
Only a billionaire can.
Well, he's a billionaire. He's one of the richest.
That's what I mean. I think that they could.
So what do you make of that?
I mean, Trump was basically independent. The Republican Party hated him.
But Trump didn't spend a lot of money. Trump was Cheap Charlie.
Yeah, he was.
Trump was, 3 or 4 people, if that.
Yeah, I know. I don't disagree. I don't really know how much he spent, but
in your lifetime,
Yeah.
we could go back to Ross Perot. We could go do that sort of thing.
Anderson, yeah.
Right, but Anderson, he was kind of a kook.
Yeah, he was.
A lovable kook, but a kook.
But yeah, Perot wasn't?
Perot, well, when he was dancing to I'm Crazy and stuff, but Perot really had, a lot of us believe that if Perot wanted to, he could have been president.
If he wanted to.
Remember,
he just wanted to
because
destroy Bush?
He did, but not once, but twice, the Republican Party. You remember this, Dave Petzo, because you were active. You were an adult at that time.
Yes.
I was just a little child. I was thinking preschool. But Ross Perot was actually, remember when he was winning, he was beating both Bush and Clinton.
Yeah.
And then he decided to get out. And then Bush, remarkably, was coming up and beating Clinton. Then he got back in, and that was Katie barred the door.
Gotcha. I don't remember him getting in and out. I do.
Well, that's because
I do remember because he thought the FBI was spying on his daughter or something.
Well,
like
no,
that.
it's just because he wanted to sing that. And then when he got out the first time, it was to that song "Crazy," and he was dancing with his daughters.
Yes, right.
But again, that's why you were, you have a life, and I was busy living politics, trying to be Sean Hannity Jr. More coming up with Dave Petzo, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller with Dave Petzo. I don't know if are you a defensive Dave Petzo? You fired up this morning? You seem had a lot of energy. Maybe your time at Channel 7, that sort of thing.
I'm feeling pretty mellow. Actually, I'm in good shape. I'm actually feeling very good.
Well, you were arrested over the weekend.
I was,
probably
yeah.
Again, some exotic location like Reno or Jackpot or
pretty much my house, but
right,
yeah.
Same thing. So we take a look at just some of the big stories going on. It's been a while here, so let me ask you, what should we be looking out for this week when we're talking about watching our 401ks, our IRAs?
Yeah, earnings. They're all coming out this week. We've got everybody. I think it's Google, Apple, Facebook, all the big companies, or not all, but most of the big companies are announcing this week that are market moving. We saw a great week last week with the chip stocks, which was fantastic, like our local boys at Micron. Wow, did their stock run last week? It was crazy, considering that Intel announced very disappointing numbers and a very disappointing outlook. All the other chip stocks took off, and of course, including Micron. So, again, that's not seeing a slowdown at all. That's seeing future very good things coming. So we'll see what's happening this week with the big tech stocks. That will be market moving.
Indeed. What else should we be looking out for here in the Treasure Valley? I have something for you. I have a little news breaking story. Are you in favor of repealing the grocery tax?
Yeah, I guess I'm not as married to it as you, but the answer is yes. I am.
You are.
I just think it's fundamentally unfair.
Yes or no, sir?
Yes, Kevin. I am in favor of repeal of the tax.
Fair enough. I'm glad you're talking slowly so I can understand. However, we.
I thought I was being very political there. I thought it was good.
You've heard of Tommy Ahlquist, haven't you?
Every day, Kevin, I've heard of him.
So Tommy Ahlquist and I, we do a podcast called Inspire Excellence.
Yeah.
So we were taping it. We had a chance to speak with Mike Moyle and Matt Erpelding, House Majority Leader, House Minority Leader.
Very nice. Good, good group.
And I put it to him. I said, Mike Moyle, is the repeal going to happen this year?
Yeah.
He said no.
I heard you say that. I think I heard you say that here last week. Yeah.
He said no. So how would you respond to that?
Why not?
As someone who balances money, you're like a money guy, right?
I think so.
You know a little about money.
A little bit.
You love the money.
I do.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way.
No, I know you're saying.
Okay, so what I don't understand is, and again, let's face it, out of the two of us, I would raise my hand to be the simpleton, and I would embrace that, okay? I would gladly embrace the title of a simpleton because lower expectations, okay? So the state has a significant budgetary shortfall.
Okay.
$60 million.
Yep.
Now, the state purchased $150 million in HP and blah, 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 and everything else. But how in the world can you, as someone who covers big business,
Yep.
how all of a sudden, whoops, we have a $60 million shortfall? You remember in Nampa several years ago where they had a $2 or $3 million shortfall. It cost a lot of people jobs in that school system.
Yep.
How does that happen?
Oh, it's government, Kevin. How does it happen? It happens in government every single day. Or a road that they just make it up and say to taxpayers, a school, we just need a one-time override. We're going to fix schools. It'll be fine. Override levies are constant. It's constant. It's constant. They spend every nickel that comes in and they go, wow, can you believe the schools are falling down? Can you believe the deterioration of the schools? It's like they don't deteriorate. It's crazy, but that's the way government is because they try to sell. They think that we are beyond dumb, that we can't even ever figure it out. That government always underbids, overpromises, and underdelivers. Everything they do, 100% of the time, they never ever meet expectations.
Well, and the challenge here, and look, it's easy to beat up on the legislators, which we do quite a bit. However, they did ask for this job, and it is a sacrifice, and they come in and they try and figure this out.
It is.
The state of the republic, but I don't understand it. When all of a sudden you're not going to make as much money, go, well, I need to cut back. I mean, you can't tell me that over the year, when it got to $30 million,
right?
Let's just say it was like on your, I don't know, one of my great dependents, a Discover card or a Visa card or something of that nature.
Yeah.
When it gets over the limit, you go, whoops, I got to stop spending.
Well, and it becomes it's kind of absurd too when you think about it. If we're having a hard time now. Okay.
With the good times.
With an incredible economy and the whole world moving to Idaho.
Right.
What's going to happen in the next recession? I mean, I've been a huge supporter of what Butch did in 2008 because he took a lot of heat to make some cutbacks before it got really bad.
Very painful cutbacks.
They were, and it turned out to be prescient. It really was. He really made some good cuts. Now, I don't know how we got to a position where now that good times are rolling, we find ourselves with deficits. That's bad. Now, I want to pose this question to you, though, Kevin, regarding this, because this is a question I would like to know. I know you're bringing up this campus, but I don't think that just comes out of the budget, does it? Isn't that kind of a building budget?
No,
or they spent 150, so we're actually $90 million to the good. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, hold on. Remember, I'm the one raising my hand saying I'm the simpleton on KIDO Talk Radio. They found the money, and it was maybe 130. They actually overbid. Our friend Tommy, you heard of Tommy Alquist, right? Tommy Alquist, $40 million over his thing. He disclosed that on this program. However, I don't know if you are having trouble with your money. Do you really need to buy the HP campus? And by the way, the HP campus, you're going to have to fix it up. I am thankful that the state is actually mowing the lawn in front on Chinden.
Right.
HP kind of let it go. More with Dave Petzo in a minute. Traffic and weather together.
Terry Gebhardt.
And here we go. Back to Dave Petzo. Okay, you're a big fan of Netflix.
For what they do, yeah. I mean, I'm not a big TV watcher, so
right.
The answer's...
You like to, you go out and you hike and you fish and you
I do weird
raft
things like that, hang around, talk to people.
Right. You're like there was a thing, an old video game called Pitfall. And you're like Pitfall Harry, just an adventure guy, like an Indiana Jones type of guy. Right?
Right. Oh, yeah. As long as it's not dangerous.
Exactly. Well, I would consider hiking dangerous. Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix. They're going to raise their prices again.
Yep.
Your
I'll
thoughts?
pay it. I'll pay it because I can dial in what I want.
Can you?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I go, not totally. I get that. There are certain shows you can't. But I have enjoyed the Longmire, for example, series. Now, it may take me 7 years to get through it.
Right.
But the idea of no commercials.
Sure.
And once in a while, it's like, hey, we got 45 minutes. You want to watch Longmire? It's like, great. Yeah, let's do it. And so that's a nice thing to be able to do because sometimes it's hard to just kind of like find a movie or, if you're just wanting to chill out. Because I just don't like commercial TV at all. The drama, the reality TV, all
Longmire
that stuff.
is commercial TV.
It was.
Right.
It's now not.
Sure.
But the answer, Kevin, is when you can dial in and do what you want to do, I think that people will gladly do it. And you saw the stock react very well to that idea.
Would you be our Walt Longmire here of the Miller Show of the KIDO Talk Radio?
Absolutely. You know what? I've been begging you to go out here so I can get my guns and all that, and I can learn how to shoot. And I'm happily pack.
Right. You would be would I be like the Henry, or would I be the overweight guy? Tess or Fess or whatever his name is.
What is his name?
Yes, exactly.
Ferd.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be furred. Nobody wants to be furred.
No, they don't want to be furred.
Nobody wants to be furred. Dave Petzo with us here, KIDO Talk Radio. So Netflix doing well. Facebook continuing to adjust to the ever-changing social media world. Going back to history, the Gilded Age, where you had Carnegie and Rockefeller and all these guys. It is is it worth a trip, do you think, to San Francisco to check out just the moguls of Silicon Valley and how ridiculous it is there?
You can't even get there. It's not. It's so busy. What you have is and spread out.
Right.
They're when they talk about Silicon Valley, it's not like a couple blocks.
It's not like Music Row or something.
Correct.
Like that. Right.
Exactly. It's not. And so you have all this going on, and they're all very well connected. And I understand if you're a billionaire why you live there, because you just are going to stay a billionaire. You've got all these startups. You finance a couple of them hit home runs, and that's all you need. And it really does. It's a very insular place. But you're starting to hear things come out about that area that they do. Even people there that are talking about it feel it's just too insular. They don't have any outside thought at all. And boy, we need more of that. Imagine what Google is doing out there and Facebook by censoring outside opinions. This is not good for our society.
Now, it's unfortunate that you don't like commercial television.
Why is that?
There's a great show, I believe it's on National Geographic Channel. It's called Valley of the Boom.
Valley of the Boom.
And it goes back to, you remember Netscape?
Yes.
Right. It details, and it kind of talks to the real-life people, and it got kind of a docudrama of the beginning of Netscape. Remember, Netscape was the original, awesome browser.
It was. Yep.
Right. And again, Microsoft tried to, snuff that and actually did. I think they acquired Netscape, something like that.
Yeah, to bury it.
Right. There was a lawsuit or something like that. And then, Apple and such. But I mean, Netscape was really Apple on steroids at the time.
It was.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to go back to the beginning of the internet. And remember how everybody talks about Facebook and Facebook is this? Yep. There was actually something before MySpace. It was called theglobe.com. That had the same concept. Mm-hmm. So, Dave Petzo, as someone who studies this, why do some ideas work and some ideas don't?
Timing, a lot of times, because what you're really seeing in this is that you saw there's a number of things. You have to see it through, okay? One of the things that Facebook did so well is that they raised a ton of capital, kept raising capital to stay in the game, and did not have any intention initially of figuring out how to collateralize a billion faces. And so they didn't turn too early to making money. They turned way late, and I don't mean too late. I mean perfectly, where they had built this entire thing that people loved.
Right.
Got to a billion faces, and I remember you and I talking about this.
Got you addicted.
Facebook's valuation's too high, blah, blah, blah. And you hear people talking about that because they're not making any money. And the answer always was, if you have a billion people that show up and spend time on your website, you're going to make money. You're going to figure out how to commercialize that, and they certainly did.
Yeah.
And that's what they did differently. They had so much capital they could do it. That is one of the main things. There's not a single answer as to why people fail. There's multiple answers, but capital's one of them.
One of your boys, Peter Thiel.
Yes.
Right.
He's one of the good guys in Silicon Valley, pointing out the problems.
Just like Dave Petzo, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial, on Twitter, on Facebook, and every Saturday, 8 to 10, Money Matters. You gonna be here this Saturday?
I will be.
That's so refreshing.
2 in a row.
Yes. We're getting the momentum back.
And I got to tell you, it's like 9 out of the last 10. Okay?
Which is more than I can say.
Mr. Hawaii.
Yeah, more than I can say. Dave Petzo, we so appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Love being here, Kevin.
Love having you.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Enjoy the
and
guidance.
Thank you for staying here in Boise. You're a talented guy that brings a lot to us. Thank you.
Where else would I go? Who else would have me? You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. More of your phone calls coming up next. First, Evan Brown joins us, Fox News Radio. Evan, good morning.
Good morning.
So here we have it. There's a lot going on with Venezuela and how we're viewing them. What's going on with them, sir?
Well, in Venezuela, there has certainly, for many years now, been a lot of upheaval and economic turmoil and attempts by political opposition to unseat dictator Nicolas Maduro as the head of state. There have been the efforts in the past that have been unsuccessful, and there have been crackdowns politically. And in this past election, Maduro essentially banned anyone from running against him. And so when he declared victory, much of the world considered it to be illegitimate. Well, since then, the young legislative leader, the man who is essentially the president of the legislature in Venezuela, his name is Juan Guaido, has declared himself to be interim president. He took an oath of office, a constitutional oath, and is calling for elections in very short order to ensure that a true head of state is elected by the people of Venezuela. And it has had some promise. Firstly, this man, Guaido, is being recognized as the interim and de facto leader of Venezuela by much of the world. The United States and Canada have officially recognized him, much of Western Europe, Israel, even a lot of Latin American countries that have been in opposition to Maduro's regime in Venezuela have done so. But we're seeing the old Cold War lines being drawn here. Venezuela's Maduro is being supported now by Cuba, by Bolivia, and also by Russia and China. So with that, we're drawing some old lines that could prove to be kind of risky and dangerous. Maduro tried to expel all American diplomats before the weekend. He has since pulled back from that, but there's been a stern warning from the United States: do not harm diplomats. We will retaliate very quickly if that's the case. And right now, the wrestling for power has to do with the military in Venezuela. Maduro has used the military to keep order and to keep power by cracking down on dissidents, either generally at protests where they've just started mowing down protesters, but also in targeted raids of leaders, taking them in the middle of the night, imprisoning them, and the like. While the upper echelon of the military has been declaring its faithfulness to Maduro, Guaido, the legislative leader, has been able to at least get the ear of the rank and file of the military by an offer of amnesty, saying if you stay out of this or if you even help us, we won't hold you accountable for what the military has been doing this whole time, because we feel we eventually will assert and take control of the country.
Again, you just wonder if they'll ever get their act together down there.
Well, look, it looks like revolution, and these things don't happen very quickly. But even still, there is a long road to recovery. Venezuela's economy is absolutely trashed. Due to perhaps socialism and its insistence of government control of all aspects of the economy, its dependence pretty much solely on oil as its economic engine. When the price of oil fell, it sent the economy, in a downward spiral. Venezuela is still very oil rich, but because its economy is in the tank, it can't really do too much with it unless it has foreign investment. And it's been getting that from mostly, again, from Russia, China, and Cuba. But it still does an oil business. In fact, the U.S. still does business with Venezuela for oil. Citgo gas stations are a subsidiary of a Venezuelan state-run oil company here in the United States. So if the United States were to choke that off, it really would choke off the economy and probably do it in down there and send it even into more depression than it has been. But Venezuela's economy is extremely bad, and that has led to widespread suffering. There are power outages that are daily, if not persistent, and that's just not for lights or air conditioning. That plays into how hospitals and schools can function and how government can function. There is a lack of food. Medicine is very scarce. There are people going without treatment for very common conditions or very common ailments. One of the perhaps saddest things we've heard about is the lack of baby food, baby formula, and diapers and things like that. Those who are of good means have fled the country, and there's something like 5,000 people a day trying to get out of the country. That's a lot of people. Now, here in South Florida, there's a significant number of Venezuelan expatriates that have made it here and are setting up their lives. They don't know if they're staying or going, but they've come here and they have jobs and they're working. They're sending their kids to school, and they're trying to live as normal of a life as possible. But for those who are of poor means, there's no escape from the country. They can't afford the airfare or the ground transportation, and certainly can't afford the illicit smearing, if you will, of officials to be able to get out of the country.
Edmund Brown, insightful, detailed as always. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
Nancy, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin.
How are
I'm
you?
a first-time caller.
Oh, good.
And we love listening to you in the morning, and thank you so much for what you do. And I wanted to comment on something that Christy Zito said on Friday. And she said, quote, "They are evil." And this is referring to the divide of this country. And she just called it what it is. She called it out, evil. They are evil. And it reminded me of a book I read a long time ago called This Present Darkness. And they were in the exact same position as this country is right now. And it was a city or a county, I don't remember, but there was the evil side and there was the other side that I won't say Republican, I'll say conservative, Christian. And anyway, they band together and they started praying. And when they prayed, the host of angels came down from heaven and they started fighting the evil spirits. And it was a spiritual battle. And when they were praying, the evil was decreased. When they didn't pray, the evil increased. And
Well, that's what we're up against. We're seeing the evil take over our country.
Exactly. And the end of the book was a happy ending. However, what I see is that I think I'm just a little person. And how many people who are where I am at that say, well, I'm just one person. What can I do? Well, we can do something great, and that is to pray. And then I got to thinking about praying, and the Lord really put it on my spirit. He said, what about my prayer in the Bible, the Lord's Prayer? And it's our Father who art in heaven, and in the middle, it's forgive us, Lord, for our trespasses, and may they forgive us for our trespasses. And then lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. There it is, right there. Deliver us from evil. And if that's all we pray every day, I just believe that this fix is not humanly possible. I believe it's a spiritual warfare, and we need to pray. And so that was what I wanted to share with your listeners.
Nancy, great thoughts and the power of prayer. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
I also happen to believe that the Hispanics should work harder at assimilation. That's one of the things I've been saying for a long time. You know, that they ought not to be just codified in their communities, but make sure that all of their kids are learning to speak English and that they feel comfortable in the communities. And that's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly.
There you have it. Tom Brokaw on Meet the Press saying that, quote, Hispanics need to learn to speak English, need to work harder to assimilate, quit having these enclaves, and the reaction. Let's get it from CNN as they were breaking down this program. And the big question here is English. Is it a crime to require people to speak English these days?
I see Keith wincing, and Maria, I have to admit, I found it a little jarring to hear Brokaw utter those words. They need to work harder to assimilate, need to learn English. What's your reaction?
My reaction is that he's a little out of touch. I love him, and I will give him a pass because he's probably not up to speed as to where things are today and age, especially with young Latinos in this country. And I think both Keith and you, Anna, know very well that Latinos assimilate incredibly well. In fact, most Latino children speak English.
Well, but on the other hand, whether it's in Arizona or in other places, you have entire schools where English is not spoken. English is the second language. Look, regardless of your ethnicity, you need to assimilate in America. And I think requiring people to speak English should not be a crime. It should not be called racist. Tom Brokaw is backpedaling. By the way, we go east of the Great River and in Duke. Now you're wondering, Duke University. Where is Duke University? It's in Durham, North Carolina, one of the most elite schools in the country. You have a professor who apologized and then got demoted because she asked the Chinese students. Now, I don't know if they're Americans or if they are the international students from China. She sent them a note, you need to commit to speaking English. And for that, well, let's get the story from our own Ken Duffy on KIDO Talk Radio.
Megan Feely, who teaches in the Biostatistics Master's Program, sent an email encouraging students to, in her words, commit to using English in the building housing the program at Duke. Feely said 2 faculty members recently complained about a group of students loudly speaking Chinese in a common area. The medical school dean wrote a follow-up saying there are no foreign language restrictions. Neely has since stepped down as the program's director of graduate studies, but will stay on as an assistant professor. Ken Duffy, Fox News.
So a professor sends a note out, please speak English, and vilified. Tom Brokaw, echoing comments from what many people think. And I'm not just going to say one ethnic group. I'm going to say everybody. Look, this is the United States of America. And for years on talk radio, my 24th year, I've always advocated people speaking English. I just don't get it. I don't understand in Idaho why we have the driver's license in 26 different languages. To me, that puts us all in danger. Your thoughts next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Thank you, Dave Ramsey. Remember, after Dave, it's Sean Hannity. Let's go to Rex in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Rex.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, so I just wanted to say I don't really like the idea of requiring people to speak English because I like freedom. But I think that educating people that assimilation is the same as white privilege is the right answer. Because if you assimilate to our country, that's what white privilege is acting that way, is speaking articulately, is dressing well-mannered, acting well-mannered, having privilege or having, common courtesy in public. That's what white privilege is. It doesn't matter if you're Mexican or African or wherever else you came from in the world. You come to America and you act American, and that's quote-unquote white privilege. And I think we just need to educate people that that's the truth.
You're going to have to expand on that one.
I honestly just think that if you look at the stereotypical white politician, that's the same thing as the stereotype that Martin Luther King, that's the same stereotype he acted. And that's assimilation to the white culture. And it's not just a white culture. I just say that because that's what they like to call white privilege.
Right.
It's not white privilege. It's a privilege of the way that we treat each other as a Christian nation. Doesn't matter what color you are. It's just if you treat people the way that you should be treated with the golden rule, that's quote-unquote white privilege, and that's what we're asking for is assimilation. Assimilate to our culture of Christian culture of being kind to one another.
I would agree with you on that. It's too bad.
I
Rex.
don't see it as white privilege exists.
Well, I don't think Tom Brokaw really did anything wrong.
No, I don't. I would agree 100%. But at the same time, I wouldn't say you could take it as far as requiring people to speak English. I feel that they're free to speak whatever they want.
Well, but
at the same time, don't complain about white privilege if you're not willing to speak English.
But if you don't, sure. But if you make it easier for people, like to have the driver's license test in 26 different languages, if to have everything bilingually and such, there's no incentive to assimilate.
I mean, there's an inherent incentive to assimilate based off of, like I said, the white privilege, so to speak. That's your motivation right there, is the person who is dressed up in the suit, clean shaven, and speaking well is the man who gets the job regardless of skin color. If I come in looking like trash and a counterpart of mine exactly the same as me on paper, but he looks good and he's African American, he's going to get the job. Doesn't matter about the skin color. It matters about how you conduct yourself.
Right, and your qualifications. Rex, great call. Thank you. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio.
I'm just Channel 7's Eric Everett.
Thank you, Larry. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Pete in Mountain Home. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, I just want to say a failure to learn English and speak English in this country is a guarantee you will remain in the lower economic strata. It's stupid, really, for people who want to be a success in America. You've got to speak English. My grandfather was an immigrant here from the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He came from a small town in what is now Romania, and he could probably speak 6, 7, 8 languages, I don't know. And my father asked him once, how come they never learned to speak German or other languages? And Grandpa said, because we're Americans and we speak English. And my grandpa ended up as comptroller for Merrill Lynch, and my dad ended up as a vice president for Merrill Lynch. Seriously, people who speak only Spanish or some other language, it's great if you're bilingual. I think that's cool. But not being able to speak English is a guarantee that you will remain in the dependent class, which is why the Democrats like that, because those are their voters. They like people who need the government. And I think if you want to get ahead, if you want your kids to get ahead, teach them to speak English. Heck, look at the Vietnamese refugees to this country after the Vietnam War. All their kids, they learned to speak English, and they worked like crazy, and they're all very, very successful.
Pete, great call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quickly to Holly in Caldwell. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Holly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to expand a little bit on the nice little lady that talked about Christy Zito and calling it like it is, calling it evil. We definitely are in a war of words right now to save what America really looks like. And Christy Zito is a prime example of what it's right to be a representative of the people. And if we had more reps like her, we wouldn't have all the problems that we have. I just wanted to say, however, there's so much power in prayer. However, we know that there are things that need to be done and that we need people to be involved. We need them to be educated about who they're voting for and not just off of the things that are sent out to them. They can go to the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, the Idaho Freedom Foundation. I just ask people to contact their representatives in Idaho and ask them to sponsor Christy Zito, co-sponsor the bill with Christy Zito for Stand Your Ground constitutional carry. And I encourage people to realize that it is time for good people to do more than pray. And what I mean by that is to be actively involved in getting informed and informing others.
Thank you, Holly.